there, it's Juliana Michaels and welcome to my channel. If you haven't already heard, SBC Fest returns on Friday, September 11th. This is an all-day virtual paper crafting event hosted by scrapbook.com with loads of tutorials, techniques, and inspiration taking place right on their YouTube channel. SBC Fest has an amazing lineup this year with instructors like Simon Hurley, Mirisha Dean, and more, all bringing their own styles and techniques, so there's something for everyone. I really recommend catching it live if you can. That's when you'll get to chat with the instructors, ask questions in real time, and get entered into the giveaways. You can find all the details in the description box below. I'm not teaching this round, but I do have some fun things to share with you about the event. Scrapbook.com sent me all 6 instructor kits to check out, and in this video, I'm going to give you a quick peek at each one, then dive into a fun shaker card I made using Laura Graff's kit. Along the way, I'll share my tips for adhering tiny die cuts without the frustration, plus how I pick pattern papers that actually work together. Now let's get into it. So SBC was kind enough to send me all of the kits that are going to be available for the SBC Fest coming up here in September. And the first thing, of course, I wanted to share is the super cute sticker that is available. And this is a nice vinyl sticker, so you can stick it onto your water bottles or whatever, computers or whatever you like to stick your stickers onto. But anyway, super cute. And then also with the little SBC monster there. And then there is also a SBC Fest cardstock variety pack that is available just for SBC Fest, and it has kind of a combination of some of the glimmer papers, which are the shiny cardstock, and then just some of the classic cardstock. And it's just a little bit of a rainbow color pack, but here you can kind of see what the shimmer paper looks like. And then this is just like the regular cardstock that's in there. And a lot of these colors are colors that are going to be used by some of the instructors. So they just kind of put together a smaller sample pack for people if they're interested in having the cardstock to create with. And if you've not used any of SBC's new cardstock, this is a great way to pick it up and kind of test it out and see if it's something that you like. So it's, in my opinion, great quality, super nice weight to it and everything for whatever kind of projects you like to make as far as card making or scrapbooking or whatever. So anyway, just wanted to share that a little bit. And now let's get into the kits. Now these are 6 kits, 1 for each instructor, and I'm just going to kind of randomly go through each one. They each come in their own zipper pouch, which is really nice because it keeps all of the kit contents together. And then after the class, you can use this bag for whatever you would like as far as organizing things. And like I said, I'm just gonna go through one at a time here. This first one up is the Simon Hurley kit. And each kit will come with like a card that has a list of the products in there, and then you can also use your phone to scan the code if you want to look at what other supplies are going to be used by that instructor for their class. So the kit is not all of the supplies that they're using, but it's some of the main supplies that aren't really like basics that you would maybe already even have in your stash. So first up, there's just some really super cute Simon Hurley designed an embossing folder, and this is called Frozen Fractals, and it looks like it's a 3D end cut, so it will emboss and cut that cool edge. There is also a coordinating stencil that goes with the embossing folder, so that's always super fun. And it looks like it's got 3 layers. Oh, there we go. So you can get a variety of effects with those 3 different layers there. And then there's also this super cute polar bear die set that makes this little polar bear, and you've got a couple sentiment strips there. And then the other thing included is this clear foam tape, which is new, and I can't wait to test that out. And then some solar paste and astro paste. So the solar paste is beluga, which really has a really pretty shimmery blue purple color to it, and then astro paste and sugar rush, which again kind of has a purpley blue color to it with glitter. So super, super cute. All right, next up I've got Mirisha Dean, and her kit, well, first off, it immediately caught my attention because it has this super cute hot air balloon die set, and there's a Harlequin embossing folder, which if you know me, I love dies and I love embossing folders, so that is super, super cute. And then there's this Happy Thoughts stamp set and a nested notched arch die. So great little set there for her. And next here, this is Christy Marcotte, and her kit has a 6x8 paper pad in the Delight patterns. So just very cheerful, fun, pretty papers. Perfect for, well, I think it could be good for all kinds of things because it's got blues and pinks and purples in there. So, well, not purples, but oranges. So beautiful color combination. And then there is this Hello Bloom stamp set and a Hello Bloom die set, which is really, really cute. And then a mini square grid with a panel that's an A2 card size die. So this die will cut out the front panel exactly the size for the front of an A2 size card. And I see lots of possibilities with this one too. And this next one, all you cat lovers out there are gonna love this kit. This is by Jess Francisco, and she has this Bold Hello stamp set that I really like. So it's just got, you know, these larger sentiments, of course, but then all these little smaller ones, which are always a favorite of mine. And this cute cat perfect pair die set. So when it's all assembled, you could put something together like that with the heart behind the cats, or you could use the cats without the heart, or, you know, lots of options, of course, once you start playing with that. And then there is this Little Paws stencil, and then some mint tape. So again, lots of creative possibilities with that one as well. Next up is this kit by Brianna Estrella, and she's going to be working with the Primrose pattern paper collection, which is absolutely gorgeous, but I'm always a sucker for anything with greens and florals and greenery in it of any kind. So just really, really pretty paper collection, but I love all the colors in here. And then she has this leaves die set, which can kind of be layered to create these larger leaves, or these smaller ones here kind of have that embossing detail to them. And then there is the typewriter alphabet set. So it comes in the uppercase and lowercase. And then the last one here is the kit that Laura Graff is going to be using. And she's going to be working with this wildflower paper collection, which again is really beautiful. I'm loving the colors in here. Lots of pretty deep oranges and yellows. It kind of has some pretty fall vibes to it. Beautiful. And then there is this wildflower die set, which has tons of dies. Now, I will say these are a little bit on the smaller side, so I would definitely feel like these are super scaled towards maybe card making. You could use them on a scrapbook page, but you might need to cut out a lot of them to, you know, make anything, but that said, I feel like you could also cluster these and put them on like a little tag or something and then put that onto a scrapbook page, and it'd be perfect for that. And then there is this stamp set that Hello Wildflowers, and it's got a coordinating die set that goes with the stamps. And then this wavy framed or wavy arched window frame. So together, you can put something together like that, or you could layer or use each of them separately. So again, lots of really great options there. And one last thing with the kits is everything that's in the kits that is kind of new for SBC Fest is only going to be available in the kit. It's not going to be available individually until after SBC Fest is over. You will be able to get them individually after SBC Fest is over, but that said, they are going to be specially priced and at their best price in the kit. So it's actually probably going to be cheaper for you to buy the kit, the whole kit, than to try to buy things individually. So if you like one or two things in a kit, I would just go ahead and get the kit rather than waiting for it to be available individually after SBC Fest is over. So just something I wanted to share with you there. But then again, also, all that said, you do not need any of these kits to play along with any of these classes. You can easily go and look at what's in the kits and then look through your stash at home and find something comparable that you could use for each of the classes. Now, I'm trying to decide which kit to play with first, and I am really struggling between a couple of them. I really love the one from Mirisha Dean with the cute helium or hot air balloons. And I also really thought that the Laura Graff's kit was really cute. So I'm kind of torn between doing something with these two kits. And that said, maybe I'll kind of combine them a little bit and play that way. So stay tuned, and next I'll be going through a little project created with one of the kits. So the first thing I did was take the wildflower die set, and I used the wildflower pattern papers to die cut a bunch of the little flowers and the butterflies and leaves, and I used my sidekick to cut them out. All of the dies will fit through this width of this because this is much smaller than a regular die cutting machine, but even this one will fit through. And they have extended plates that are longer than these traditional ones that come through, but if you don't have those, you can just run it part way through and then move the paper up and get that second cut to finish it off if you like. But yeah, so then I kind of played around with, I thought that kind of looked like a trellis, and so kind of played around with the placement of everything here. And then sometimes I'll use a piece of like saran wrap to kind of pick up my design once I kind of get it figured out. So this isn't exactly perfect, but pretty close. So I can just kind of push that down and grab all those little pieces, and then carefully pick this up, flip it over, and I can take that off. And then I've got all my little pieces pretty good stuck down there. And then I can use that to kind of help with placement when it comes time to gluing everything down. So next I'm just going to kind of go through the different papers here and kind of think about what paper I would want to cut this out of, because this is going to be kind of the behind my flowers. So obviously this paper, they completely get lost in the green. You can't see the leaves. So I'm just going to kind of keep flipping through here. That one's not too bad. Still a little bit busy. And then there's the gingham here, which could be nice. Again, a little bit busy, but you could put a little bit of like gesso over those, the white gesso, to tone those down a little bit, and that would give that a way to work. That one could be kind of pretty. This one you lose some of the leaves because that's one of the papers we used for that. That could work. Just kind of plain, so maybe you want something with a little bit of a pattern. That one's a little too busy. Ooh, now that one I like. Kind of mild, not too bold, just very kind of a little bit of a delicate pattern. Of course, the pink is what we cut the flowers out of. So then there's this one. That one could possibly work. Maybe that one. And then there's this kind of bolder red color, which could work. That really kind of makes it, gives it a little elegant feel. And then there's a solid red as well. But I am leaning towards the stripe. So I think that is the one I'm going to select here for that layer. And then we're just going to run this through my die cutting machine. So I'm just going to trim this paper down to the size of this die, which I know will fit through here. So you can just, you could even just use your cutting plate as a template for that. There. And because I'm going to slide this paper, it's going to kind of help hold this all in place. So I'm just going to use a little mint tape here to hold that down. And you just want to make sure you're not on the edge there, because this is has a little bit of an angle to it there. So it needs to, you don't want to have any of your paper or the die on that part of the cutting plate. And we'll run that through here. And then we'll just slide it up. And run it back through to get the other end. There we go. And then there is the background for behind our flowers. And then I'm going to cut this little trellis next here. And I feel like that should be kind of more of a solid color maybe. Or what about a craft color? Ooh, I think I like that. Again, just go trim this down to close to the size of the die. All right. Now, obviously, you can use these little inner pieces for something else if you like, but that's kind of what we're going to go for here. Oh yeah, I like that. But I always like a lot of dimension, so I'm going to cut this out a few more times, and then I'm going to layer those together to give it some dimension. As I was creating this, I also thought this could be kind of cool as a shaker. So I think I'm going to do that. So I had cut 3 layers and glued them together. So I've cut one more layer here. And I'm going to take a piece of acetate, and I'm just going to kind of use this as a little bit of a template to help me cut this to size, just to get it close. You can always trim off the extra after we glue it on. So I am going to glue the acetate onto the back side of this top piece. And we'll just put a little block on top of that and let that dry. Once that is dry, you can just take your scissors and trim off the excess. And before we continue any further, I am going to ink the edges of these pieces here with a little vintage photo distress ink. Let's add a little bit of vintage style to it, which is what I prefer, but you could certainly leave this clean and simple if you like. Remember, this one's going to get glued on top of those, so don't need to ink those. And if you want to get a little bit on the inside, you can always wipe off the acetate. This gives it a nice little touch there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this down onto our back piece there. Get that centered up. Again, I can just kind of set our little block on there and let that dry for a minute. Once that's dry, I just kind of went through my stash of sequins and pulled out some ones that kind of coordinated with what I have here. And I'm just going to add a little bit of those into each opening here. This isn't a really deep, this is kind of a shallow shaker, so don't want to get it too thick. Kind of spread them out there so that you can see them. And then we'll add some adhesive to the back of our acetate piece here. And then just need to carefully line this up. Now there's going to be some static with the sequins in the plastic, so you do have to just kind of work a little bit quickly once you lay it down. Just get it lined up. There we go, and then we can just put the little block back on there and then just let that dry real good. All right, so then once that's all dry, you've got your little shaker frame. And usually what I try to do for this is just put some adhesive on these little die cuts to get things adhered to each other. Sometimes you have to lift some stuff up to get underneath it. And then some things you'll have to go in and add some adhesive later, but you can kind of get some of it here. That over and line that up. Give all that a little press down. Let that dry. Now you might, like I said, some of it you may have to go back in afterwards, like the little butterfly here. And you can go back and add a little bit of adhesive to that. I think for the butterfly, I'm actually even going to just use a little bit of a foam adhesive behind there. So I got these little strips. Like I know some of these leaves aren't glued down, so we'll have to go in and get a little adhesive on those. And just kind of tug on them, and if they don't have, you didn't get adhesive on there, then you know you need to add some. But just kind of going a little bit at a time, then you can keep things in place. Set that to the side there. See, I know that little flower doesn't have any on it. Good there. There we go. Perfect. Get a little adhesive on our other butterfly. And then we also have our sentiment here too, so I'll make sure we give a little space for it. I might tuck it right in there. Okay, just cut a little strip of this. That'll work. So we'll add that one. Then we have our other little butterfly. We can pop down here, or I think down here looks good. There we are. And then last, we just need to pick a background paper for this to go on. That could be pretty. Could kind of offset it. I'll put it in the center. Another option, just thought of, could be kind of pretty. I'm going to do this green. And I'm going to cut this, I'm going to cut a strip of this. To go behind here. So let's cut that down to 3 inches. Let's see how that looks. And then we're going to layer that then onto another paper. Ooh, yeah, I love that. Okay, so I could either do this one. That's kind of fun. Yeah, just kind of go through. That one's really pretty too. Lots of options, but I think some sort of pattern. No. Ooh, that could be, ooh, I think, yes. Green's always going to win in my book. That's it. So I'm going to, I think, just ink the edges of this just a little bit. It's not going to show up a ton, but just a little bit. And I kind of wish I had inked the edges of my flowers. That would have added a nice little touch. So we'll just kind of go in and do a little bit here. There we go, just a touch. And we can ink the edge of this one. Adhere these together. I always just start off with a little bit. And get that centered. You can use the grid here to kind of help get it centered. There we go. Can add, and again, add the rest of the adhesive. And then if you wanted to, pop this up a little bit more, you could, which is always a choice in my book. I'm going to add a little bit of foam tape to the back of this. And kind of get that centered using our grid on this craft mat here. And press that down. And there we are. Here's a look at the finished card I made using Laura Graff's kit. And I hope you find the die cutting and pattern paper tips helpful for your own projects. Don't forget you can get all the details about SBC Fest using the links in the description box below. And if you're interested in the kits or any of the supplies I used in this video to create this card, you can find links to them as well. Until next time, stay crafty, my friend.